Hello and welcome. Welcome once more to the 90210 podcast, a podcast that you already know is dedicated to showcasing unique, creative, and diverse humans, those who are making their mark by living their legacies. In other words, visionaries who took and take action daily. And as you know, we all have a story to tell. And our stories here on our 90210 podcast are meant to inspire, move, and empower others so that you can succeed in life as well. Join us, therefore, as we today spotlight another rock star, a rock star who is actually able to navigate the roller coaster of life and is able to use their uniqueness, their unique gifts. And in other words, this person that you already see here and here in a minute will share with you how he achieved what he did so that you might be able to do the same. So welcome, Authentic Holmes.
Actually, it's Will Holmes. Sorry, my Zoom.
I love it. I love the authentic. That's why I said it. I know you will, but
Yes,
I was like,
I
oh,
am.
I love the authentic.
Yes, I am authentic. And you are as well that are going to be watching this podcast. But thank you for having me on here in the 90210 podcast. 90121 agency. Shout out Michelle and Ashcan and all the great team that works behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to make things happen.
Awesome. Thank you for acknowledging everybody. But today we're here to acknowledge you. So, Will, tell us a little bit about you. I've heard something about billboards and marketing and so forth, and
Right.
that's very big.
Right.
So, who is Will? Where does Will come from? And what were his dreams when he was young?
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you said that. I always have had dreams of doing something very large and bringing people together, right? And it wasn't always the cool people; it was the dreamers, the doers, the nerds, right? The difference makers, the people that were the least likely to succeed. And since I was a little boy, wanted to be president, right, in politics and all that good stuff. And so, I guess along the course of life, bringing people together led me to starting my own marketing firm, which was Classic Gentleman. Started it in college
Mm,
with my business
in
partner Matt.
college.
Yeah, college. Cal
Wow.
State, shout out Cal State Fullerton. They
Yes.
they rigged me up, and I got my bachelor's from there in political science, which obviously Cal State Fullerton is a great business school, so they
Yes.
gave me a lot of tools there as well. And through the process of it, I learned how to network across the aisle, not just internally inside the school, but outbound, and did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of events at venues and networking. And then my team was like, dude, we need to make money. So we started out doing networking events, high end networking level events at cool spaces.
Uh-huh.
So from there, make a long story shorter, worked with a fashion house, which I was were able to meet my current business partner Jen, and she
Mm-hmm.
was a rock star doing clothing
Oh,
and working with boss women and boss moms and just all these great kind of things. And I was like, wow, you're different. And for there, we came together and we did an event called Flawed and Fabulous, where we bring diverse women together and women that have had struggles and overcoming obstacles, right?
wow. I love that. Yes.
And that we've been doing that for the past 4 years. And then we opened up a podcast space doing photography, videography, and podcast work.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, things started speeding up. Housewives, selling OC, just playmates, just crazy, just amazing, creative people. We were just doing photo shoots, and then I had the idea of, I'll talk about this first, and I'm sure we'll get to it. We started something about billboards, and we're like, hey, can we do everything that we're doing with billboards? And then the rest is history. And then we were able to connect with Miss Deanna Mole, who is our producer of the actual reality show Billboards Inc. I'm able also to connect with Miss Tisha Vashling, who helped us with the benefactor. She's the benefactor of the show. And now, I'm a living proof that if you fail enough often, you'll figure it out. I'm just a guy that finally figured out something. I haven't figured out everything, but I figured out something.
I love that. So, because you just mentioned failing, and very often, failing is seen as something that by society at large that we shouldn't do. But then, of course, there is, well, if you don't fail, you didn't try.
Right.
So, it's all the official phrasing is it's all in how you get back up. Um, you mentioned Cal State. So, are you originally from California? Are you from
Yeah.
LA?
So,
Okay.
so I'm originally grew up in California. Yes. Do have family in Chicago, and I've recently been finding out that I have a lot of roots in different areas, like as far as like I am Bohemian and also have
Nice.
Creole in me as well.
Okay,
Once I did
cool.
hear differently now, I find out there's a lot more in me that I could tell. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I am a California native and also Chicago. Yeah, Orange County kid. That
Yeah, yeah.
you
Orange
know,
County. Yeah, been there, done that. Yes,
right.
okay. Okay. So you mentioned meeting Jen, and I think we should have her on as well at some point here in the near future.
Yes.
Um,
She
and you
is
mentioned
that's me.
the women. Okay, so you had this event for women who have challenges and
Right.
a number of events. Why women?
I think at that time, and it was before the women empowerment wave like
Yeah.
came. Right, started ours in like 14, I think, or 13 or something like that. And that demographic is such a strong demographic, and they no, not to the men. I love the men, but it's such a strong demo that just knows what they want, and
Mm-hmm.
especially moms, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They've been through some things. They've gone through the ups, they've gone through the downs, and now they want to bring their children or the next
Yes.
generation with them. And so I feel like that rearing and that upbringing is why our demo primarily is women or women of
Mm-hmm.
faith or women in business or
Yes.
women with just a vision. And a lot of times, sometimes men like myself, we have a little bit of harder time figuring out the path, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
But when women get stuck on something, some people may call it aggro or, just like, way too focused, they're going to get to the destination. And that's what you see in someone like a Jen
Yeah.
or like a Deanna or like Tisha, the people that have been around me, which helps keep me on my toes, obviously.
Yeah.
Which I'm very grateful for to have some strong women because a lot of times, strong women are looked at as masculine. Um, and if you're not secure as a man in your masculine energy, you won't understand that a lot of these women had to become masculine to even get in the room.
Right.
And what that takes, I don't think a third of men can really understand what it takes to get in the room.
Good point. Good point. I always used to like to say, women at a crossroads, when you have to make a decision, which way do you go? And as you say, it's the focus. And I don't want to call it resilience, but I think and some men have that too, as you said, but it's like the dream, and they're just going to continue going towards, even though we've got all these distractions going on, positive distractions like family and so forth. Um, so that's interesting. Women, and you mentioned strong women. Now, the other thing that I've heard about you, and I'm
Beautiful.
probably going to,
Add
yeah,
that.
beautiful as well, of course.
You all are beautiful.
The other thing that I believe I read about you is you're not just focused on the women, the high-end level networking, the marketing and all of that, but I heard something about charitable initiatives that you
Yes,
also
yes,
support.
that is something that's been very dear to us at Billboards Inc. and in attribution to
Hmm.
Jen Massey, who said, "Hey, it's great. We're going to these red carpets. It's great working with this brand. It's great working with these
Hmm.
people of interest. But what about society? What about culture? What
Hmm.
about the less fortunate that we can lift our offering to through these billboard trucks or billboards itself?" That I feel like a lot of companies don't really get to do. We have Tom's,
Hmm.
obviously they do after everyone sold, right? They give back, but I feel like there hasn't been a luxury brand, maybe like Just Water, that has said,
Hmm.
"Hey, for this, we're going to supply this," right? And I
Hmm.
feel like that's because the reason why we've been so blessed to grow as fast and get these opportunities is because we don't forget about the charities.
Yeah.
along the way, right? For every
Mm-hmm.
big event, we always give a free space for a charity or a complimentary space for a charity. And so I
Nice.
feel like that is where also business is heading, something with
Mm-hmm.
purpose, but also luxury, right? And when you're able to mirror the two together, that's where taste happens. That's
Yes.
where, networking across the aisle happens. That's where something very special happens in pop culture.
Mm-hmm. Pop culture. Okay. Well, I got a few follow-up questions, but let us take a break real quick. I know everybody wants to hear a little bit more about you. We're just going to take a short break and we're going to ask everybody to take notice of our very valued sponsors, of course. And then when we come back, we'll be talking more with authentic Will Holmes. So give us a moment.
90210 Enterprise Gateway Access, where visionaries connect and opportunities ignite. Step into a world where ambition meets access. At 90210 Enterprise Gateway Access, you're not just joining a network, you're entering a realm of elite collaboration, innovation, and growth. Whether you're scaling new heights, forming strategic alliances, or seeking transformative insights, this is where momentum begins. Connect with industry leaders, unlock exclusive programs, accelerate your success. Unlock $1,000 worth of value for just $99. First 100 sign-up will be labeled as founding members. The future is built on connections. Start forging yours today. Elevate, connect, succeed. Your gateway to what's next starts here.
And welcome back to your 90210 podcast, where we showcase, as you know, unique, creative, and diverse humans. And we certainly have Will Authentic Holmes here today, who is very unique in some of the items that we've already were able to talk about, whether it's the focus on women, the charitable organizations, the billboard idea. Cal State may not be as unique, but it is still very special. So, Will, you've achieved a lot. You've done a lot. You've mentioned that you want to have social impact. What's your next dream?
My next dream is that's a really great question. I haven't been asked that in a while. I love that. I usually have all the answers. My next dream is to really be that conduit or platform beyond billboards, beyond reality shows for the next generation to be able to be a venture capitalist, to be able to point them in the right direction, be able to provide jobs and resources. That goes along with my path of bringing creatives together when I want to run for office for political, reasons. I didn't see a lot of opportunity when it came to young people because you're too young or you're too brash or you're too
Mm-hmm.
energetic. You don't have a beard. You don't have the wife. You know this. I want to be able to give the young kids an opportunity as people were able to give me an opportunity to say, hey, he's not that young. Let's get him in the room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what they'll people be able to see as I continue to evolve and am able to make better decisions. And I'm just literally the espresso and the coffee. I used to want to be the coffee mug, but I would rather now be the espresso that's inside the coffee because all you need is that one spark. Because most of the time, people already have it in them. They just
Yeah.
need a espresso.
I see. I'm a coffee connoisseur, so now I'm trying to figure out what kind of espresso you might
Right?
be.
I
It's
love
like,
it.
well, there's cafe crema, there's espresso, there's a very harsh. So, okay, why do you think it's so important to get younger people into politics, the boardroom, etc.?
I feel like we're seeing a lot of advances with obviously AI and
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. These are going to be the next leaders. These are going to be the
Mm-hmm.
next consumers. And if we don't give them this side of the coin, which is a lot of them are not the best at this
Mm-hmm.
right here, communication. I've heard
Yeah.
so many people tell me, you're well versed for your age. I'm like, that's going to be an issue for the
Yeah.
next generation that's on, the Fortnites or the TikToks and this and that. It's easy for them to communicate digitally, but
Mm-hmm.
for them, like I said, to network up and a network across the aisle, they're going to need to have a conversation. So I can give them what we have here and they connect with their tech. What
Mm-hmm.
type of world are we going to enter in with young people that can communicate and are technologically advanced and have the charitable aspect at the same time. I mean, that I feel like a much more connected world, and that's will break down cultural barriers and classism as well.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like it's so important, because you can have somebody that's over here in the tech space and have somebody that's here that's over in, I don't know, the fashion world, and maybe a doctor, right? And you can connect the 2 through communication.
You've done a lot of events. You went to the university, political science. You're into marketing, event hosting, shows. Did you ever have a challenge, or were you ever timid to network and
It's
speak?
so good.
Because networking is not everybody's cup of espresso.
Right. Yeah, I gotta shout out my dad, um, and my late uncle, who I was running. I was about to run for school office because I was president of a lot of schools and stuff like that as well.
Okay.
Um, I was gonna run for ASB president of Fullerton High School, which I did win.
Okay.
Um,
Congratulations.
yeah, well, thank you, thank you. But I was like, am I good enough?
Uh-huh.
And that was the first time, like, I always knew I was something, right? I always knew, be the best, sit in the front seat of the class, all that stuff. But at that time, I went through a stage of kind of being nervous. Can I undertake this big offering? Am I versed enough? Am I cultured enough? Am I all of those things that are outside of myself? And they said one thing I remember: with God, all things are possible. I'm a big believer. A company, we're all believers, and that was the first time in my life that I realized that there's always going to be something that's bigger than yourself, but that's how you know you're alive. And that was the first moment that I had that nervousness about a task that was bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And so from there, there was no other option. After I won that, and I lived my life like there's no other option. You have to walk through the door and walk in as yourself. And if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. But at least you walk through the door.
Okay. So thank you. I love that. There is no other option. So you mentioned at the beginning of answering this question, you mentioned your father and your late uncle.
Yeah.
Many young men, young women don't have that. They may come from areas, and you're into charitable initiatives. They may come from areas where they don't have that support at home. So if they are faced with a situation, they might not have somebody saying, yes, you can do it, or just believe, or have faith. They don't have that. What would you tell them?
What I would tell them, because I have a lot of friends that may not be the quintessential look, or they come from the trenches, or what some might say, like impoverished areas. I would say, as long as you're breathing, you have a chance. As long as you're thinking, you have a chance. As long as you're moving, it's like the person that goes to the gym, right? As long as you go take that first step, you'll get to half a mile, and you'll get to the next mile, and you'll get to the second mile, and then you'll start running. So by the time you realize you're successful, you won't even remember the start, because you're on that treadmill of life. And so I remember them saying, "Oh, you had it easy. You grew up in Orange County, and you had these opportunities and these mentors and this and that."
Yeah.
But at a certain point of time, I had to become my own battery. You don't have your parents always, or people around you, saying you can do it, especially when you mass it at a certain level. It's fine when everyone's at the same level, but when you go for extraordinary, that's when people start to back away. It's a very fine level between extraordinary and ordinary, and that gap is where the difference happens.
So with you aiming at the extraordinary, I assume there have been some challenges, some people whom you lost in the way of they no longer believed in the same, or maybe they were jealous and so forth. How do you deal with that? Because it is a very competitive space altogether when we're talking about venture capitalism, right?
Yeah. Well, it's lonely at the top, and heavy is the head. but also realizing everything is happening on purpose and everything is
Mm-hmm.
happening for your highest good. So the jealousy, I used to be, oh, whatever, or, there's selective loyalty. As long as I do for you, then you'll stay for me. But everyone has their own unique path and their own unique purpose that they need to go for. So
Mm-hmm.
if it's not with me or it is with me, you're still going to win regardless in your scope. And I think instead of thinking at it so linear, thinking as a horizontal playing field, that there's plenty of space for everybody to win. And I had to realize that, because otherwise you'll fall in the emotions and be like, they're against me, they don't like me, they're not,
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. When you realize people are just trying to live lives for the very first time that they've never lived it. And if they find a better opportunity, then that was God's plan the whole time. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
and I live in that way. But if you want to do anything great, there's gonna have to be a separation in order for you to elevate.
When you do release people, I'm trying to find the right words, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you do
love
release
it.
people from your circle, right? There sometimes still is something holding us back. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but in general, we talk about the abundance issue, believing, truly knowing that there is space for everyone. And sometimes also people that I've talked to, and I'm sure you know this as well, they're holding themselves back,
Right.
maybe because they think, well, if I make too much money, then people will get jealous, or if I make too much money, I will know, all of those things. What is your advice to people who are stuck just in between the ordinary and the extraordinary?
Well, I always say this: at every phase of the mountain, you're going to be back in that middle spot. So you
Mm-hmm.
never quite hit the peak.
Mm-hmm.
There's always another peak. Um, and I had times, what you're getting at is, it's called survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I made it to this level of the peak, and I thought I had enough rope for you, but I didn't,
Yeah.
and I had to keep going up the peak. And I think it's being willing to be understanding that the survivor's guilt is going to be at every phase. I mean, I had, you know, what transparency, I've had several male partners along the way that I wanted to take them up with the mountain, but I didn't have enough rope, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
I had plenty of rope.
Yeah.
And so I feel like survivor's guilt is always going to be there, because you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I wish they would have. I wish they could have. I wish they
Yeah.
would have seen the vision. But vision, everyone's vision is in 2020. That's why we go to the eye doctor. People have different scopes of vision. People have 15, 20, 10, 20, whatever. Everyone's scope of vision is different. And you can lay out everything and say, this is what we're going to be doing in the next 5 years. A lot of people are instinctual. They're not on the forward vision plan, or futurist. So they can
Mm-hmm.
only see the next 10 minutes.
Right.
And in business, you have to see the next 100. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think understanding that we're always going to have that survivor's guilt there regardless, but it's being okay to sit in that and know that it's okay.
Yeah. And I think you hinted also at that, it is on the one hand survivor's guilt, but it was also their choice because they weren't quite ready, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we gotta also admit that, because everybody does have different perspectives, visions, or wear different glasses depending.
I
Um,
love
and
that.
so at the very end of this, because we're almost out of time, you do have a docu-reality series as well. What is that all about? How does that fit in with the networking, the women, the billboards? What is that all about?
Well, I want to shout out again Deanna Land Productions, Deanna Mole, because she took a chance on a kid, right? 2023, I had a vision of bringing entrepreneurs together, and the billboards and the photo shoots and the lights, the cameras, the actions. And I remember going to Javier's in Orange County and pitching her an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay. But the difference in between getting the idea done and pitching it is two different things. And it was a labor of love. We had a lot of people that came, that went. She almost didn't actually produce the whole thing.
Hmm.
And by God willing, we were able to last year in July, put that on Tubi. And shout out Tisha Vaslin, who was very instrumental in that as well, to make it happen. And all the brands and the venues and all of that. But it was really an offering, I feel like my first personal W, my first business W that was larger than myself, but it took a team that, all for one, one for all mentality. As much as I love to call myself a rock star and notice other rock stars,
Yes.
it really does take a band to get
Yes.
first Grammy, right? And
I was just going to say that when you said rock star, I'm like, okay, here we go. Here comes the band.
It's
Yes.
I have some of the best bandmates, and shout
Yeah.
out Derek Gates and Patrick as well, who helped film that as well. But yeah, we were able. If you're familiar with The Office and Mad Men, it's kind of reversed because I'm surrounded by women and I'm the man in the show.
Yeah.
And so it's a healthy, clean watch. That's entertaining, but also heartfelt. And Misty Anna Land was also really serious about having the spiritual journey. And you see my breakdown and my breakthrough throughout the show. That's kind of led to even to this current version that you see right now.
Awesome. Yeah, really, I was asking, because it's not as much about the billboards, but with you, the faith, the belief comes through a lot. And it does mean that we don't go through phases of doubt and all of that. So to me, it almost is like an extension of you supporting others, by laying yourself open like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that I'm if it was a racetrack, I would be the tread for our clients or people to kind of be able to drive and to show directional force, with that. And know regardless of socioeconomic or race or class, that everyone deserves a seat at the table. And not only a seat at the table, but we're able to make our own table and provide the seats as well to be able to sit at. And like I said, just shout out, the people that could have left, you know what I mean? Because I'm much younger, you know what I mean? And I'm very aware, and time is the only thing that we can't get back. So, we always say this quote at Billboards Inc. You're more than just a billboard, because you are. Everyone in the world is more than meets the eye.
Yes, absolutely. So final question, I promise, final question, quick answer. Billboard Inc. And you just mentioned it again, say everybody's more than a billboard. So what are you trying to achieve other than marketing? I get a sense that there's something else behind there.
Right. We are trying to be the biggest pop culture luxury billboard source that brings creatives, socioeconomic groups, moms, venture capitalists, investment groups, real estate, all these hubs of culture under one, to bring the best message and vision out there possible that we can do. And so we want to be the bridge gapper that that people didn't count on, because a lot of these other brands, they're not people based, they're monetary based. And so we're a very people based brand. Without the people, the vision perishes.
Yes.
And so without even the people to allow me to be on this podcast, I wouldn't even be talking today. So we want to be that hub alongside the great brands that we see, like the Apples, or the Teslas, or the Louis Vuittons or Givenchy's, but maintain the humanity at the same time. And I feel like we've been able to navigate that very well, because people always say, you guys are so personable, but you guys are doing an amazing thing. So we want to maintain that, knock on wood, as we continue to elevate.
Awesome. Sounds like you know what your legacy is, and that you're actually walking it, which is kind of exciting to hear. And I think your examples and parts of your stories that you were able to share with us really can show that when you have a dream and you go after it, surround yourself with the right people. And what did you say? There's no other option. I wrote that down. There's no other option. And of course, you have to be authentic in that. So, wow. Thank you so much, Will. Really appreciate it. I know we only have a little bit of time here today, but I'd love to have Jen on as well. And maybe we'll get you back and talk a little bit more as you continue on your path. But everybody else, definitely check out Will Holmes, Billboard Inc., right? or S,
You
billboards.
you can go to billboardsinc.com,
Mm-hmm.
Billboards Inc. Instagram, Billboards Inc. on Tubi. Please
Yes.
stream that show. We will be doing a season 2. We're in post production right now, and looking
Yes.
for more brands or people of interest that want to share their stories. And so, if you have an idea, we want to bring it to the world.
Ooh, I can think of a lot of people who can do that. And of course, I don't want to be amiss that we here at 90210 are very, very excited to also collaborate with you
Yeah.
on a few things because we are, both of us are people and relationship centered. So thank you, Will. Really appreciate your time. Everybody else there who's watching, who's been listening, thank you for joining us today. This, of course, is the 90210 podcast. You know who we cover, who we bring on, and hopefully you can see how Will and his team are making a change. They're being the change just by him appearing today. There were so many ideas. So think about how you can elevate and live your legacy today as well. And don't forget to subscribe and watch again. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.